Yes, sorry, yes. Welcome to the San Diego County Administration Center. So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to do... We'll do the chair here, do Nora there. We're going to do parade up well. I'm not taking my seat. I don't want to move you back. You're still free. You have to put you here. And we're going to have you like right here. Okay. I got a couple of... Hi, Alan.
Oh, and then... James? James?
Check 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Mic check. Mic check. 1, 2, 3.
I love watching this. I just love it.
We're good?
Good? Oh my God.
I want to make sure that you're in the shot. They're good there.
And hey, did you turn them on?
Manila, we can have you here too. Thank you.
If you want to put it on the right part too. Let me see. There you go.
I know. We wait till Edgar says go. Uh-oh. Did it break?
We're good.
It didn't break? All right, Edgar, tell me when. Couple seconds here.
Sorry.
You don't have to run. We can wait. All right. Ready? Good morning. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. As chair of the Board of Supervisors, I am here today with my colleague, Vice Chair Nora Vargas, along with Ellen Nash, the chair of the Leon Williams Human Relations Commission, and with leaders from our API community. And we are here today to stand and speak with one voice, to stand in solidarity with our API community members, to denounce the hate which we are seeing across our country targeted at our API community. And in partnership with the API Coalition, who helped us draft language, Supervisor Vargas and myself will be bringing forward a resolution and board letter at our meeting on April 6th with recommendations to engage our Human Relations Commission on concrete steps that we can take moving forward to address the rise and the epidemic of hate crimes and violence and racism that we are seeing attacking our API communities. Earlier this year, as a board, we declared racism a public health crisis and committed ourselves as a county to ensure that we look at policies, programs, and services through a racial justice lens to ensure equity across county government. We are working intentionally to make San Diego County a welcoming place, a place of belonging, a place where every life is valued, where everyone is treated with dignity and with respect. As a county, we will not stand or tolerate acts of hatred. We will fight against white supremacy. We will fight against structural racism. And we will always stand as an ally to every member of our community in that basic pursuit of dignity and justice. Our country has a long history of attacking communities of color, and the AAPI community is no exception to this history. From the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 to the Japanese internment camps of the 1940s, right here in our own state of California. We have a history, and we must be honest about that. We must acknowledge that, and we must take intentional steps to overcome it as a people. Early last year, about a year ago, I joined AAPI leaders in our country after attacks against our Asian fellow residents surrounding the coronavirus. We stood in Kearny Mesa and denounced those attacks, and this dangerous rhetoric has increased against our Chinese and AAPI American members during COVID-19, often fueled by ignorance, fueled by underlying racism, fueled by the specific language and words of our previous president, and we have to move beyond that. We must address intolerance. We must address it in a united fashion. Structural racism is defined by the Aspen Institute is a system in which public policies, institutional practices, cultural representation, and other norms work in various ways, reinforcing ways to perpetuate racial group inequity. It identifies dimensions of our history and culture that are associated with privilege, associated with whiteness, and disadvantages associated with color to endure and adapt over time. Structural racism is not something that a few people or institutions choose to practice. Instead, it has been a feature of the social, economic, and political system in which we all exist. And that is the system we have to change, the structural nature which underlines it. And because of that, it is imperative that we intentionally work to become anti-racist, both as institutions and as a culture, especially when we are tasked with creating public policies that affect our Black, Indigenous, Latino, AAPI, and all communities of color across this county. And so our resolution moving forward, myself and Supervisor Vargas, is a strong step in this direction, but it is a first step. Engaging with the AAPI Coalition, listening to the community members, engaging with our Human Relations Commission, which last year we brought back for this very purpose of engaging and listening and working with community members and coming up with policies, with changes, with suggestions, with action items that need to be done. I think this is an important and vital step that we take. The organizations and activists involved in this effort have been fighting to save Black lives, to protect our Indigenous communities, fighting against discrimination against our Latino community, and over and over and over. And now we all stand united in this effort to continue on to be a more perfect union. For all of those communities that are here who have joined us, those who are watching at home, I want you to know your county government hears you. We acknowledge the injustices that are taking place, and we stand with you together to take action, fighting alongside. We have to confront the realities of what we face, and together we will continue to move forward. With that, I would like to introduce my colleague, Vice Chair of the County Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Nora Vargas.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher, and thank you to all of my friends from the AAPI community that are here today, Ms. Ellen Nash. As you know, this week has been a particularly difficult week for all of us. Once again, our communities of color have been targeted by horrendous hate crime. The murder of 6 Asian women, along with 2 other victims in Atlanta last week, was a hate crime. Make no mistake about it. The attacks against our Asian elders and the devaluation of Asian women in our society cannot and will not stand for anymore. This type of rhetoric is not new, nor are these isolated incidents. This is yet another example of the effects of the hateful and violent rhetoric that was espoused by the Trump administration and has absolutely exacerbated the tensions in our communities. As supervisor, I have the honor of serving a large AAPI community in District 1. While our community is diverse and many of us embrace this diversity, this moment calls for more than thoughts and prayers. We need solidarity and we need action. To our AAPI sisters and brothers and non-binary folk who are feeling afraid or isolated by these horrendous acts, we see you and we stand beside you. AAPI allies, we need to be there for our AAPI neighbors and for our friends. Let them know you support them. Let them know you stand with them. Let them know that you will be there for them. If you see abuse, do what you can to help stop it. Don't be part of the problem. No one in our communities should be fearful for the safety of their loved ones for simply existing. This is not the country we want to be. This is not the county we want to be. There is no place for white supremacy and racism in San Diego County. I will do everything I can to stand up against these horrific crimes, but more importantly, together we can denounce hate and renew our commitment to stand up against all forms of racism. I am proud to author this resolution with Chair Fletcher in solidarity with our API community. This is not just a resolution that we're doing for today. We're actually going to make sure that we're taking action and moving forward. We stand together with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Vargas. Next, I want to introduce Kent Lee, co-chair of the San Diego API Coalition, and we appreciate the API Coalition, their feedback, their engagement, their input, their direction, and this really much is an effort initiated by community leaders who are here driving, demanding action. Kent?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kent Lee. I'm the Executive Director of Pacific Arts Movement. I also have the honor of serving as the co-chair of the San Diego Asian Pacific Islander Coalition. And as a first-generation Chinese American whose parents immigrated here from Vietnam and Burma as refugees, I have been appalled, and I think all of us have been appalled at the incidents we've seen, not just in this last week in Atlanta, but also over the course of the last several months, over the course of the pandemic, and just also understanding that these are impacts that we have seen throughout the long history that Chair Fletcher has mentioned. As we're looking to process everything that's been taking place, I think it's really important for us to remember that this is not just a moment to consider the tragedy, to be shocked, but to also consider what the opportunity we have before us today, what the obligation we have before us today is to help build a stronger community. Many have asked the API community over the last week, what can you do to help? What can we do to support? And I think to that end, we do want to share a couple of things. First off, the San Diego Asian Pacific Islander Coalition really formed organically a year ago in response to the increased racism and xenophobia we were seeing within our communities. We brought together more than 70 organizations to speak out through a joint statement denouncing hate, which was signed by hundreds of community members and individuals and organizations. We've been asking ourselves, how can we be a light for people? How can we help shine a better awareness on the issues that we're seeing today? How can we do better in terms of collecting data and getting reporting so that we can better understand the impacts to our community? Over the course of the last year, we have worked with city and county officials in multiple fronts. We were honored to be able to craft a resolution with Council President Gomez and Councilmember Montgomery last year at the City of San Diego. And we're grateful for this opportunity and very much want to thank Chair Fletcher and Vice Chair Vargas for this opportunity to bring this to an attention at the county level. At the end of the day, only by coming together can we stand against hate. And I think we have to consider that all of us as a community have a shared responsibility to how we can speak up and denounce what we're seeing, not just within the Asian Pacific Islander community, but within all communities that might be facing racism, discrimination, and hate. As Martin Luther King Jr. once shared with the world, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And it's our hope that together by working collaboratively in solidarity with our allies that we can build a stronger, more compassionate, more inclusive San Diego. Thank you.
Thank you, Kent. Next, also from the AAPI Coalition, we have Kieran Makapugai. Did I get it right?
So good. You did.
Words have power. Words have power to uplift, and words have power to hurt. For us in the Asian American Pacific Islander communities, when we hear words like the Chinese virus, when we hear words like Kung Flu, we hurt. When we hear people who are supposed to be tasked with leading our country saying harmful things, we suffer. And this is not new to us. Since the beginning of this country, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, Black, Latinx, Indigenous people have long suffered and long struggled. It is a time of reckoning. This crafting a resolution, this partnership we are forging with Supervisors Fletcher, Vargas, and others is just one step in the direction we hope to take. Words are powerful. Words on paper will turn into actions. These actions will inform policy. These actions will inform programs, practices, laws to give all of our communities the care and the compassion that we have been asking for long before this pandemic. For those of you who are watching at home and asking what you can do to support us, first of all, we need you to recognize these uncomfortable truths. We need you to do the hard work and the hard work of checking the racism, classism, homophobia, sexism, gender-based violence that you see in your workplaces, in your schools, and in your very homes. This is not easy to do, and we know it's a heavy ask, but until that happens, we will continue to see people suffer. We will continue to see people struggle. And it's an act of love and courage we are asking of you to come together to denounce all forms of hate and to make sure if what you really want is a way forward and the world that we hope for, we have to do this together. Thank you.
Our final speaker today is Ellen Nash. She is chair of the Leon Williams Human Relations Commission. Before I was here, I committed to Ellen we would bring back the Human Relations Commission to have a place of community leaders that are present to drive discussions like this and drive recommendations about action. When we created it, it was appropriate that the commission selected Ellen as their leader, a long and well-esteemed, a tremendously well-regarded community leader, and we're thrilled to have her with us today. Ellen?
Thank you so much for having me today and inviting me to this issue that I even hate that we have to continue dealing with around hate and bigotry. I am, as Chair Nathan Fletcher just introduced me, as the chair of the County of San Diego Human Relations Commission and the San Diego chapter of the Black American Political Association, where I serve as chair, and I am truly outraged by the hate against our Asian brothers and sisters. This hate is another example of the blatant racism and discrimination that our country, state, and city has reckoned with far too long. As a Black woman and a mother, I have said it one time too many, and I will say it again. I do want to talk about after the murder of George Floyd, we seen Asian Americans support Black Lives Matter. We seen prominent AAPI organizations lead in a multiracial solidarity with the black community. A crime against any community is a crime against all of us. It is unacceptable and it must stop now. We must all commit to being a part of the solution. It is time to value, appreciate, and respect all of our differences. When I left my house this morning, my grandson, 6-year-old grandson, said, "Grandma, where are you going again?" I had to say, I always tell my grandson and my children the truth. I have to go and speak to protect Asian Americans. Why, Grandma? Why, Grandma? Because they shot, he's talking to me, they shot those people in Atlanta? This is what my 6-year-old grandson has to see, has to know. This is unacceptable. We must come together in solidarity. BAPAC, we stand with the AAPI coalition. We stand with you. We partner with you. This has to stop. We have to love each other. Hate has no place in America's finest city. Am I right? Yes. Hate has no place in this city that we call our own, our homes. We want to be able to get on the trolley and ride to work every day. We want to be able to go into the grocery stores. We want to be able to go visit beautiful parks like this and feel safe. Today, at this moment, at this time, it has to stop. I thank you, Chair Fletcher and Vice Chair Nora Vargas, for this opportunity, and I stand and we stand with the AAPI community. We love you all. This hate has to stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellen. And again, we're here to speak with one voice, that the promise of America that all are created equal requires we have a society where all are treated equal. And we have a ways to go in order to fulfill that. And we will continue to call out racism anytime we see it and continue to look for everything we can do as a community to be better. At this point, we'd be happy to take any questions. I know individuals here are also available for one-on-one interviews. So not seeing any questions. Thank you all for joining us, and a special thank you to everyone who joined us at the event today. Thank you.